Hello, everyone. I just wanted to check in here and say a few things about the weekly assignment, which is, after all, the majority of the work that you do for this class is really about completing this weekly assignment. And I think people are doing a very good job, but I thought these aren't new ideas I have here written down. I think I'm just reinforcing something and maybe putting things in slightly different terms as a way of clarifying what that weekly assignment should be doing. So, again, this is nothing new, but I thought I'd comment on it. Nothing else to do today. If it helps, it helps. Sort of a stepwise thing of how one way of describing how one may go about completing this assignment. And step one is to read the text, and obviously that's a given. I mean, I don't even thought about whether even putting that there. Of course, you read the text, but I just want to reinforce that reading the text. Reading is reading something in philosophy, reading something of complexity, of great value. It's like reading a Shakespeare soliloquy or reading a great poem, reading a novel, great passage from a novel. It's something to return to and to think about. Reading is not a finite thing. I mean, walking across the street, you say, I'm going to walk across the street, and you look both ways, hopefully, and then you walk for a little while, you step off the curb into the street, and you were in the street a little while, and then you arrive at the other side, and it's all done, and you move on. Reading is not like that. Reading, again, something like the kind of things we're reading now, things of depth and value, it's not a finite process where, oh, I read it, so that process is finished. It's not like crossing the street. You don't read it and move on because, I mean, you want to deepen your understanding. So you're constantly coming back to it. And you're reading, every time you read something like this, you're reading it in a more informed and structured way. So these are not the kind of readings where you just read it and then you're like, okay, now I'm ready to do the assignment. Very rarely. Maybe you hit on it right away sometimes, but I know I don't typically. You have to go back and think about it, make notes, annotate the reading, speculate about things, and don't expect to have a thorough grasp of it the first time. It simply takes time. So, yeah, I'm glad I put in there. Read the text and reread it and read it analytically and read it again. Don't try to do it all at once. That's why waiting to the end of the week to do these sort of things is really kind of not the way to do it, because you need some time. And time doesn't just mean, yes, I spent X amount of time doing the reading. Time means time to read it and put it down, think about it a little bit, come back to it, think about it a little more. So reading the text is a process. And it's not a easily quantified, well, I read it. It took me 10 minutes or half an hour, and now I'm ready to move. No, that's not the way that things work, as you know, as a student. I mean, process of understanding something is not this sort of straight linear sort of thing. You have to circle back and you have to think about it, and you have to, do your best, make a real effort. So reading the text is an art. Reading a text like this is an art, and it takes a lot of effort, and it's not, I would suggest read it several times during the week, take notes, do your best. And then when you have to sit down at a certain point to write the weekly assignment, you got to go ahead and do it. But don't expect, well, I'm going to read it and then everything will be cool. No. So number two, decide what it is the author is trying to do. I try to put that in the most general terms. What is it? Why did this person write this? What were they trying to do? What were they trying to establish? What was their point? What is this text for? I think we start out in that general way. Like, what's the point here? You know, um, you can go to the editorial page of any newspaper, like your New York Times, and they're trying to get something across in a shorter, easier way than what we're doing. But you can look at any editorial argumentative writing and you can underline and say, this is what they're trying to establish. And then you have a way of approaching the thing critically. Because if this is what they're trying to establish, how did they try to establish it? What did they actually say in defense of their main point? And that's to move on to step 3, decide how well the author actually did it. That is, what are they trying to do? This. And then how well did they actually do it? That's the critical evaluation. And frankly, I think the weakest point in most of the essays I've read is that step 3. And that's too bad, because the step 3 is the whole point, is to develop your own critical faculty, let's say. But all you're really trying to do is, after you've identified what it is the author's trying to do in that step there, last step, you're weighing in on how well they actually did what they set out to do. Now, of course, this is described very broadly, just as number 2 is described very broadly. Because we have to sort of, with number 2, we have to actually articulate in some kind of statement form, okay, this proposition, or maybe set of propositions, is what the author is trying to establish. And so when we just also when we in the last step here, when we decide how well the author actually did it, we're looking at, how well did the author actually reason? How good were the reasons? Specific reasons that the author gave in support of this thing. So I don't know if that's helpful, but I was thinking, what you want to do is to make certain decisions about what the author is trying to do. And that's after a protracted reading process, thinking about the reading process, you make certain decisions. Well, this is what the point of this thing is. This is what the author is trying to do. But that third step there is what we really have to concentrate on, I would say. And especially at this point in the semester, what you should be concentrating on in your work is making sure that you don't turn in something that doesn't have a substantive step 3 there, let's say. Doesn't have a substantive answer to the question, how well did the author actually do what they're trying to do? And how well means not was it relatable, was it interesting, was it entertaining, was it easily comprehensible? No, the how well is, how well did they actually prove what they set out to prove? That is, it really is a logical enterprise in terms of did the author actually give reasons for thinking that this thing is true? Not did they give easily understandable reasons or relatable reasons? Did they give good reasons? And good reasons would be reasons that actually logically support the truth of the main assertion. So what you should be concentrating on, I think, in your work now is to make sure that you give a really acute and substantive response to that third part there, to, the how well did the author actually do it.